Thank you, Ted, and thank you all for inviting me to discuss my observations about the Korean War. I'll do my best to describe a 3-year war in the next 20 minutes. At this point, you probably want to know my personal experience. So let me just say, back then, unlike today's military, we were all volunteers. I was just one of many young civilians who was drafted. Now, before I go any further, I want you all to understand, I did not do anything heroic compared to some of the real fighting other soldiers experienced in that war. As I tell the students during our visits to the high schools, this was our grandparents' war. We were young and not much older than today's high school seniors. I was drafted in 1951, and after basic training, I was invited to attend Anti-Aircraft Officers Candidate School, acronym OCS, at Fort Bliss, Texas. You know, I said, hey, that's better than going overseas being in infantry. So I said, that's fine. The war will be over by the time I get out of this OCS anyway. So I accepted the invitation and graduated in 1952. I think I was last in my class, probably the shortest. You know, the students enjoyed my stories of being hazed as an underclassman. I don't believe I ever had done so many push-ups in my life. But I did tell them when I became an upperclassman, hey, I did the same thing to the young guys coming up, so it all worked out evenly. A yearbook of the OCS I left on the table if anybody would like to browse and take some photos of some of the hazing that went on during that time. After graduation, I received a commission as second lieutenant and assigned to Air Defense Command on the East Coast. I was stationed at the headquarters of the Air Defense Command located at Swarthmore College. For those of you who have never heard of Swarthmore College or even not from the East Coast, Swarthmore College was a very upscale, all-girls college. Now here I am. I'm a brand new young second lieutenant being stationed at an all-girls college. Now let me tell you, this is not bad duty, okay? Yeah, at that point, yeah, I'm gonna make the Army a career. This is fine, no problems at all. I was having a good time. However, the war is still going on, and I got orders to go to Korea. When I arrived in Korea, March of 1953, I was informed the enemy aircraft was no longer a threat, so instead of directing any aircraft against enemy planes, I was instead going to be an artillery forward observer assigned to the 7th Infantry Division located on the front lines. Now I have to tell you, being assigned to Infantry Division on the front lines was not exactly what I had anticipated when I was transferred to Korea. I was told I was to be a replacement. And I said, well, who am I replacing? I was told there's a shortage of forward observers because a large number had become casualties. Now put yourself in my shoes and you got this kind of instructions. You know, how would you feel about things? I told my students I had a little training about the duties of an artillery forward observer, acronym FO. However, I was told, not to worry, Lieutenant, as I would receive on-the-job training and they assigned an experienced sergeant to my observation unit. I was issued a .45 revolver, a carbine, a flat jacket to protect against shrapnel. Now I was thinking to myself, why should I be concerned about shrapnel? And escorted to one of the observation posts, west view of the 7th Infantry Division, which was facing a hill held by the Chinese, nicknamed Old Baldy. In a few minutes I'll explain my duties as an FO, but first let me describe a little bit about the terrain. The hill is called Old Baldy because after 5 battles for the hill, there were a few trees or bushes still growing. And I took a photo of Old Baldy from my outpost. I took it with my Kodak Browning camera. Now when I go to the high schools, I had to explain to students what a Kodak Browning camera looked like. But you know, it's not a cell phone really, guys. You know? Anyway, you can see, get an idea, there's not a thing growing on Old Baldy. The reason Old Baldy changed hands so many times because the hill had a clear view of the entire area. As I mentioned earlier, the Korean War resembled trench warfare of World War I. If you read your history books, you remember the World War I and how horrific that was, with artillery landing on both sides of the MLR, which is mostly the 30th parallel. I was positioned in an outpost in front of the MLR. My job was to call in artillery rounds on enemy whenever I observed hostile activity. You know, looking back on my experiences, the power and responsibilities was placed in young forward observers like me was really interesting. One call from me on a field radio could bring in more destructive power than an entire infantry battalion. Here is a photo I took with my Kodak Browning camera from my outpost. You can see the power of the shells landing on Old Baldy. Now looking back on my tour of duty in Korea, I had a turn of good luck. Since I was now the forward observer on Pork Chop, and I'm now the observer on Outpost Harry. And the other reason is that on the night before the armistice was signed, a 90-minute battle took place at my former outpost, Westview, and unfortunately, my replacement was killed. I assume the Chinese decided to finish the war in a blaze of glory. Today, South Korea is the economic miracle, our staunchest ally. Meanwhile, in North Korea, millions are starving. The South Koreans appreciate the relationship with the United States. Here is an example. South Korea has a pre-visit program where the South Korean government hosts Korean veterans to show their appreciation for the United States coming to their aid in 1950. Lynn and I will be visiting South Korea this coming September as a guest of the Republic of Korea. God bless America, and thank you very much.